And when it's done, when it's over, and we've won, we can do all the things we ever wanted. Everything we know we've missed. I'll find you.
Andor proved that good prequels don't just add backstory, they can make the original story feel like an entirely different experience. We used to watch this moment in Rogue One and think, heroism, a noble sacrifice, mission accomplished. But now it hurts. Because we understand the real cost Cassian is paying, the future he's forfeiting, and not just from him. We've seen what others had to do. The betrayals, the sacrifices, the moral lines crossed, what it took to build the rebellion to this point. We know the desperate steps that made their shot at hope possible. Now, Rogue One feels less like a mission, and more like a eulogy. It's the closing chapter of a man who lost everything so others could know freedom. So how did Andor become a prequel that doesn't just fill in the blanks, but truly enhances the original? Let's break it down. To understand how Andor pulled this off, we need to look at where most prequels go wrong. Not because the original idea was flawed, but because they don't respect the story that came before. They treat beloved stories like rough drafts, rewriting moments and characters for convenience, often breaking the very stories they're meant to support. They shrink the world, pulling everything back to the same few characters and families. They rely on familiar faces not to explore them, but to reshape them, hoping recognition will replace meaning. Continuity breaks, motivations shift, mystery gets drained, until it feels like a different universe entirely. And worst of all, the emotional weight of the original is lost. Because nostalgia without meaning doesn't deepen the story, it weakens it. Great prequels don't just explain why things happened, they show us why they mattered and what they cost. Andor understood this. It helped us understand the sacrifice. It showed how these characters and organisations became who they needed to be. It didn't just fill in gaps, it added emotional weight to every scene we thought we already knew. It made us feel that story in a completely new way. By respecting the source, expanding the world, and showing us a side of the rebellion we hadn't seen before. A great prequel isn't about connecting dots, it's adding meaning, adding layers. Honour the original, and what made it resonate. Make us feel like we've just uncovered something that was always there. Because every scene in a prequel should add weight, not just information. Andor doesn't centre its story around a big-name character. It centres around desperation, survival, and people with no other choice. We're watching ordinary people pushed beyond their limits. Cassian is trying to stay alive. He wants to escape. He tells Bix he's done his part. He wants to run to find peace. But the rebellion doesn't let go. And Bix, despite loving him, leaves because she believes the rebellion still needs him. And she needs the Empire to be defeated so that their suffering meant something. Rebellion becomes a necessity for many of the characters. Marva chooses rebellion because she can't stay silent anymore. Nemik writes his manifesto because the fight needs a voice. The Darnies continue to travel to view the Eye of Aldhani because they're trying to preserve their culture. The prisoners revolt when they realise they're going to be stuck there forever. And even as the ISB hunts them relentlessly, the Empire continues to tighten their grip, driving more people to the rebellion. The question isn't if there will be rebellion, it's how long until people start fighting back. As the series progresses, Andor shows us a rebellion built not on hope alone, but on pain, fear, and impossible decisions. We see characters like Mon Mothma forced to gamble her own family to keep the fight alive. Luthen choosing to become a monster that does whatever's necessary so others don't have to. We're not just shown bravery, we're shown cost. The brilliance of the prequel format in Andor is how it lays bare that these characters are staking everything, long before the rebellion even has a chance of success. That faith grounded in sacrifice makes every small rebellion feel monumental.
Make 10 men feel like 100.
The weight of leading something you know might fail. These are people who are burning their lives down piece by piece so that someone somewhere might have a chance. Andor teaches writers a critical lesson. Great prequels don't glorify, they humanise. They peel away the polish and show us the cracks. Every character is standing on the edge of ruin, making choices that eat away at their soul. And then we return to Rogue One with all that knowledge. Cassian is no longer just a ruthless veteran rebel that was always going to sacrifice for the rebellion. Now we know what Cassian gave up. A future with Bix, the chance to raise a child he never even knew about. The peace he always valued and strived towards. His death isn't just heroic, it's devastating. Because he didn't die at the start of his story. He died at the end of a long, painful journey. And he's not alone. We see the faces of others who carried the rebellion on their backs. Some who made it, most who didn't. They're no longer just names on a list. We understand now that Luthen and Kleya gave everything they were. No real identities, no legacies, only purpose. Mon Mothma giving up her family, reputation and career. The rebellion grew from nothing into a power that challenged a galactic empire, not through glory, but through relentless sacrifice. And they're not just dying, they're missing out on the very freedom they fought for. So when Princess Leia gets handed those plans, it means infinitely more. Andor succeeds not because it adds new facts, but because it reshapes how we feel. It took a side character and made us see the rebellion through his eyes and through people from all different areas of the galaxy. It made us care about the quiet suffering, the hidden costs, the emotional truth behind a galaxy at war. For writers, this is the blueprint. A great prequel doesn't overwrite, it reveals. It doesn't change the original, it enhances it. And in doing so, it reminds us, every story we love has more beneath the surface. And if we dare to explore it with care, maybe we can make the past hurt, in the best way possible. If you want more writing analysis and tips on writing great stories, I put out new videos every single week, and you don't want to miss them.